The emergency beacon had failed 3 days ago. The ship's automated systems had dumped them on this moon, LX-447, a forgettable rock orbiting a gas giant, before the vessel tore itself apart in orbit. Commander Jake Morrison watched the burning fragments streak across the purple sky, each one representing years of exploration and countless credits of Federation resources. "Well," he said, turning to face his crew, "looks like we're camping." The 6 aliens stared at him with various expressions of despair. ZH Carr, the Vexillian navigator, collapsed onto the muddy ground, his 4 arms spread wide. "We're doomed. 3 weeks minimum until rescue. No supplies. No shelter. Nothing. We have ourselves," Jake said, scanning the tree line. The vegetation here was dense, similar to Earth's rainforests but with crystalline leaves that chimed in the wind. "That's something." Flora, the Kashan engineer, shook her head. "Commander, with all respect, you don't understand. My people evolved in climate-controlled caves. ZH Carr's species lives in arid zones. We're not built for this." Jake nodded slowly. He'd served with aliens long enough to know their limitations weren't excuses. Evolution had shaped them for specific niches, just as it had shaped him. "Okay. Anyone else have environmental issues I should know about?" One by one, they confessed their vulnerabilities. The Prixians needed constant moisture. The Corthan couldn't regulate body temperature efficiently. Even Lieutenant Marcus Webb, the only other human aboard, looked uncertain. "Sir, I'm from New Boston. I've never even been camping," Webb admitted. "My survival training was theoretical." "Mine was practical," Jake said, remembering summers with his grandfather in the Montana wilderness. "Let's get to work." The aliens watched in confusion as Jake began gathering materials. He selected specific trees, not the tallest, but ones with straight trunks and minimal crystalline growth. Using a sharp rock, he began stripping bark in long sections. "What are you doing?" ZH Carr asked, incredulous. "That will take forever. We should conserve energy, wait for rescue in that cave." He pointed to a shallow depression in nearby rocks. Jake glanced at the sky. The clouds were darkening, and the air pressure had dropped noticeably. "That's not a cave. That's a drainage channel. When the storm hits, and it will hit tonight, that'll be a river." "How do you know?" Flora challenged. He pointed to water marks on the stone, the smooth surfaces, the debris caught in upper crevices. "Because nature tells you everything if you know how to listen." While the aliens huddled together, debating whether to believe him, Jake worked. He found bamboo-like stalks near a water source and cut dozens of them. He wove bark into cordage, his fingers working from muscle memory decades old. Webb watched for a while, then tentatively began helping, following Jake's instructions. "We need a raised platform," Jake explained, lashing stalks together. "Ground will be wet. We need drainage, insulation, and wind resistance." "This is primitive," ZH Carr muttered. "We're spacefaring civilizations. We shouldn't need to live like animals." "Evolution doesn't care about your technology," Jake replied, not unkindly. "My ancestors survived ice ages with less than this. Yours didn't have to. That's not weakness, just different paths." By midday, the frame was taking shape. Jake had selected a spot between 3 trees, using them as natural supports. He angled the roof to shed water and added a wind break on the exposed side. The aliens watched with growing interest as the structure emerged from his labor. The Priyan, Dr. Keela, made a gurgling sound of surprise. "Commander, that's actually functional." "It's more than functional," Jake said, thatching the roof with broad leaves overlapped like shingles. "It'll keep us dry, warm, and alive." The storm arrived as predicted, unleashing torrents of rain that turned the world gray. The aliens had reluctantly entered Jake's shelter, cramming themselves into the surprisingly spacious interior. They sat on the raised platform, elevated above the rushing water that now flowed exactly where ZH-Car had wanted to camp. By the ancestors, the Vexillian whispered, watching water surge past. We would have drowned. Jake was checking the roof, reinforcing weak points. Probably just swept away. The drowning would come later. Thunder cracked overhead. The crystalline trees sang in harmony with the storm, creating an otherworldly chorus. Inside the hut, everyone was dry. The design channeled water away efficiently, and the platform kept them elevated. Jake had even managed to create a small fire pit with ventilation, though getting it lit in these conditions had required some creative problem-solving. I don't understand, Flora said, her voice filled with wonder. Your species, you have cities, spacecraft, quantum drives. Why do you still know how to do this? Jake fed small twigs into the growing fire. Because we remember where we came from. My grandfather taught me, his father taught him, back through generations. We don't see it as primitive, we see it as foundation. You can't appreciate the stars if you've forgotten the dirt. Most civilizations abandon such knowledge, Dr. Keela observed. It's inefficient to maintain skills that technology makes obsolete. Is it? Webb asked, surprising everyone. He'd been quiet most of the day, but now he gestured around the shelter. Seems pretty efficient right now. The storm raged for 3 days. Jake ventured out to collect rainwater and forage for edible plants, using knowledge that seemed almost instinctual. He showed Webb how to identify safe vegetation, how to set simple traps, how to read weather patterns. The younger man absorbed it eagerly, apologizing for his earlier ignorance. Don't apologize, Jake said. You just never needed it before. But humans, we carry survival in our DNA. It comes back when we need it. On the 4th day, the rescue ship arrived. The Federation crew found 6 aliens huddled in a remarkably sophisticated shelter, well-fed and healthy, while 2 humans maintained their camp with casual competence. The rescue captain, a Vexillian admiral, studied the structure with analytical interest. Commander Morrison, this is impressive. Primitive construction, but the engineering principles are sound. Perhaps even optimal for available resources. Thank you, sir, Jake replied, helping dismantle the shelter. The vegetation would reclaim the area quickly. I'm writing a commendation, the admiral continued. And I'm recommending that human survival training become mandatory for all Federation crews. It seems your species retained something the rest of us forgot. ZH-Car, looking embarrassed, approached as they prepared to board. Commander, I apologize for my earlier comments. I called your methods primitive, but I was the primitive one, thinking technology made me superior to nature. Jake smiled and clasped the alien's shoulder. No apology needed. You know what you know. Now you know a little more. As the ship lifted off, Webb stood beside Jake, watching the moon shrink below them. Sir, when we get back, could you teach me more? The real stuff, not just theory. Sure thing, Lieutenant. Next shore leave, we'll go camping. Real camping. No tech, no shortcuts. Just humans doing what humans do best. What's that? Jake grinned. Surviving. Against all odds, despite impossible circumstances, we endure. That's not just what we do, it's who we are. The ship jumped to FTL, leaving LX-447 behind. But word of the incident spread through the Federation like wildfire. The story of how a human-built shelter from nothing while more advanced species had given up became legend. Academies began teaching wilderness survival. Crews started cross-training in primitive skills. And somewhere in that vast federation, humanity's reputation evolved. Not just as warriors or explorers, but as something more fundamental, survivors who remembered their roots and used them to reach the stars. Because that's what humans do. They adapt. They build. They endure. Fuck yeah.